This is the Isle of Palms podcast, produced by Island Vibes, the Isle of Palms upscale monthly publication. The Isle of Palms podcast is all about the people, places, and events that make this island a slice of paradise.
Hi, this is Zach Jarrell, your host for the Isle of Palms podcast. The Isle of Palms podcast is all about the people, places, and events that make the Isle of Palms a slice of paradise. Today we welcome Rusty Streetman. Rusty is a current council member running for re-election to a second term and is a retired executive in the private sector. What is the main reason or reasons you are seeking re-election to IOP City Council?
Well, there's a couple of them, Zach. Number one, I mean, the 4 years that I've been on council, I've really enjoyed it. I've got involved in public service, and I really think that was the right thing for me to do at my point in life. I'd retired from the private sector, where I was around a lot of people. I interacted with a lot of people in the private sector. Had a lot of people reporting to me, but I wanted to give back to the island that I've lived on for over 39 years now. And the best way to do that was to start attending some of the public meetings, which I did prior to running for council, and then made a decision to run for council 4 years ago and won a seat. What I see is in the 4 years that I've been on council, we've done a lot of things, a lot of good things. And it's not just Rusty Streetman, it's all of council that we've collaborated with each other, we've negotiated. We have a lot of capital projects that are underway. We've had a number of successes, and I want to build on that. I want to run again because I want to see a lot of that go across the finish line, the things that we've started that have been very positive. And I also had a lot of encouragement also. I had my family behind me. I had a lot of island residents who encouraged me to run. And that just gave me, the confidence. And also, I didn't have a lack of confidence, but it gave me the reassurance that I have more to give to the community. So that's why I'm choosing to run again.
What priorities would you focus on during your new term of office if reelected? Well,
I tell you, we've got a lot of them. I mentioned just a moment ago about the capital projects we have underway. Let me say this: my priorities at this point, the major priorities are the safety on the island of the residents and the visitors that we have, and making sure that we keep this island safe through our public safety department, fire, police, and making sure that they have the resources that they need. I see that as the number one priority that our city council and our city government ought to be providing for our residents and visitors: safety. I also see that in regards to a very top priority, since we're a low-lying barrier island, our comprehensive master drainage plan is something that we need to see through fruition. We have repaired a number of the outfalls. It empties water into the intercoastal waterway and gets the water off the island when we have standing storm water or tidal events. And we're in the middle of getting those projects done, and I would like to see that to completion also. But we do have a comprehensive plan that not only will help get the water off the island in tidal events and stormwater, but we also have a phase 4 of that drainage plan that will kind of look at different areas across the island where we have standing water after heavy rains, and will help in that regard too. So with a low-lying barrier island, it's always better if we can get that water off the island so that our residents and visitors can move freely about the island without having to worry about huge puddles and standing water everywhere. And then also the parking issues that we have is another, and I'll say traffic/parking. That is a top priority also. We have, on many weekends during the summer, we have 4 times the number of residents that come over in their vehicles on weekend afternoons or weekend days, and they come to the island, to play, basically, to play on the beach and to visit us and hopefully shop at, eat at our restaurants. And it puts a real strain on the parking issues we have. So I think we need to continue to look for creative ways to handle traffic on and off the island via the connector, in our municipal parking lots, helping out with the county parking lot as much as we can, and also making sure that on Palm Boulevard, where a large majority of our parking is that it's safe for people who come here to visit for the day, and also safe for the residents. We always need to have an eye on the traffic situation to not only protect the people who are visiting us, but also, just as important, if not more importantly, protecting the residents and our quality of life for the people who live here on this island. Those are really my top three priorities. Now, other priorities we have, I touched on it a while ago with the capital plan, cleaner beaches and parkways. And waterways, making sure that those are kept up to par, making sure that our livability issues are managed effectively. We do have short-term rentals on this island. We've had them historically, and we don't have a lot of problems with our STRs in terms of noise complaints based on what gets logged through our police department. But we do have issues that come up, and our livability officers need to have better enforcement in that area. So we've added an extra livability officer, and I would like to see us continue to work on that with the short-term rentals and the people that are visiting through the day, making sure that we have better enforcement of the laws and that are in place, and protecting our right to govern through home rule. That's important for us on Isle of Palms. We've had issues, back during COVID where we had some things that came up that really looked like it was a violation of the 1975 Home Rule Act. And that kind of, it ended up being a situation where we had our connector restriped that we didn't know about. And I'd like to see us be able to get that more effectively back in place so that we can have easy ingress and egress of emergency vehicles if needed. And I'd just like to see us protect that, because that's really a right for all municipalities in South Carolina. And I really feel like Isle of Palms kind of got treated a little differently along with a few of the other barrier islands when it came to parking issues and what was done with the connector also. Beach erosion, making sure that we control that we manage that more effectively. Conservation and protecting endangered species, particularly the loggerhead turtles out here. All of that are things that I feel like are definitely high priorities, and I would just like to see us continue to address those moving forward.
Podcasting has exploded in popularity, especially local podcasts. As of 2022, 62% of Americans have listened to a podcast. 38% have listened in the last month. 26% in the last week. The podcasting audience is booming with no signs of slowing down. Call the podcast hotline to be featured on these podcasts or to receive information about podcast marketing. Call 843-530-0403 or visit carolinapodcasts.com.
If reelected, what changes would you strive to make in the community that you didn't already mention?
Well, I tell you, Zach, there's a lot of, as I've kind of outlined here, there's a lot of great things that are going on Isle of Palms that are underway, in progress, and there aren't a lot of things that I would actually change or improve about Isle of Palms. The one thing, because I would say let's keep doing what we are tasked to do as a council elected by the people, and that is to do the residents' bidding and making sure that we have a safe place to live, a clean place to live, and that we do the necessary services that need to be done through our public works department, that sort of thing, keeping the island free of trash and debris. But I guess the number one thing I would like to see all of us work on, and this is not just a Rusty issue, this is a community issue and a council issue, is restoring civility. I think that's the most important thing we can do. Too many times we have situations that come up that get addressed on social media, and I think people feel empowered on social media to just say pretty much anything they want to in some cases. And then other people, react to that. Next thing you know, you've got arguments going on, and it's divisive. I can't say that we can stop that. We certainly can't. You can't govern that. People have the right to say what they want to say. That's free speech. But I would like to see this community and this council really take a close look at what we could do to be more civil with each other. I know that one of the things that I hearken to is George Washington, the father of our country, had rules of civility that he mentioned in numerous writings, and this is what I strive to do. I can't say that I'm always successful, but it's always been in my nature to treat other people with respect, try to be more positive than negative, and there are times you got to be very serious about things, but you can still have a positive slant. Speak kindly about others as much as you can. Try to do what's right. Try to make your best decision based on the feedback you're getting from residents and your collaboration with your council members. Give your best in everything that you do. Keep an open mind, and then think before you act. Sometimes we're too quick to say something before we really think it through. And I think those are just part of the things that we ought to be looking at in terms of more civility, both on council and in the community. And I would say that is really the one thing I'd like to see change for the better on this island and in this community and on our council.
Now, moving on to the ultimate question that will appear on the referendum in the upcoming November election. Directly from the city's verbiage, shall the city of Isle of Palms limit the investment of short-term rental business license to a maximum of $1,600? Yes is in favor of the short-term rental cap. No is opposed to the short-term rental cap. Please state your stance and why.
All right. Well, I'm on record as a council member and a voting council member in several sessions that we have to be opposed to the caps. And I am definitely a vote no on the referendum question. And the reason I have for that is because I truly think in doing the research and in our listening sessions we had with our residents a couple of years ago, they clearly told us, and this is our residents weighing in, they really didn't want caps in place. What they wanted to see was more enforcement on livability issues, and that is really what we took away from those listening sessions we had at the rec center. We had 3 of them, and they were all very clear in what they would like to see, and it was not a cap. When you start drilling down into the data, and you can have a chart for this, a graph for this, and you can make it look pretty much any way you want, depending on the side that you're on. But I will tell you this, the problem that we have with short-term rentals on the island is just not there. I mean, it's not what people are saying that it is on the yes side. We have many, many units on the front beach and in our commercial areas that are short-term rentals. They've historically been short-term rentals. They're licensed to be short-term rentals. We have those units built into the 1,600 cap. That's wrong. They ought to be taken out of there and not reflected because they're historic rentals. They have nothing to do with the residential neighborhoods. If we take those out, and if you look at where our residential neighborhoods are, we have short-term rentals there and always have, but we don't have a huge problem. So I was always in support, and what I voted for was for us to not instill caps, but to manage the situation, take the condos out of there, the townhomes that should be out, look closely at the residential neighborhoods, monitor it on a monthly basis. We meet every month, at least twice per month in city council, and stay on top of the situation. If we saw a situation that was developing where short-term rentals were having conglomerates or big companies move in to take over, we could quickly react. We simply haven't seen that. We've seen more families move in. We've seen more second homes that are out there for people who have the money. We were discovered during COVID and people started investing in us, but not so much for rentals. It was second homes and more families are moving in. You only have to go to the rec center one afternoon, particularly on the weekends, and you'll see how many young families we have on this island. I've been here for 39 years. I'm seeing more kids than I've ever seen before. So I think in addition to that, if we were to put a cap in of 1,600, I think we would see a similar situation that seems to be happening at one of our neighboring beach communities, where property values could be going down, where we would have a situation there where it might really compromise people who buy on this island to rent their home, to pay for it to pay the expenses on it so that someday they can retire to the island. And that's what many people do. They've invested here, they rent their home, they try to offset the expenses with the hope and the belief that someday themselves and or their family members will be able to move onto this island, into this home, and make it a part of their life permanently. A lot of people on this island have done this in the past and are currently doing it. And I think if we put a cap in and we establish a waiting list, that's going to compromise some of that, and that people are not going to be able to get a short-term rental license and because they're over the cap or the cap's been exceeded. And in that case, they may be standing there with a property that they have to sell because they can't afford to hold on to it. And then I guess last but not least, it's government overreach. Why should our local government decide what a family or a person does with their property? I know we have zoning rules and we have those kind of issues in place that are day-to-day livability type issues that are rules. But why should local government have the right to tell anyone whether or not they can rent their property or get involved to that extent? I think it's clearly a property rights violation and government overreach if we put this in. So I'm just encouraging everybody I know to vote no, just as I'm going to vote no, and then let the council deal with the situation going forward and see what we can do to stay on top of it, just to monitor it and make sure that we don't have some sort of issue that builds in the future that's a problem. I think that we can do that and do that very effectively.
Rusty, we certainly appreciate your time today.
Zach, can I say one other thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'd like to say, just a couple of things here real quickly. Number one, I'd like to let the public, I don't know when this will be aired, but I'd like to let the public know that we will be having a candidates forum at the Isle of Palms Exchange Club next Monday, the 23rd, from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I would hope that people would come out and attend that. It ought to be spirited conversation on the issues. I would certainly like to see a lot of people in attendance, and we're looking forward for it. I mean, looking forward to the forum. It's being conducted by the League of Women Voters, who is a very nonpartisan sort of organization and has done a very professional job in the past handling our candidate forum. So we're looking forward to that. And then lastly, I want to thank Island Vibes as well. The first issue had 28 pages of really positive type news, reporting it the way that it is, very objectively and on a good, positive, stance that you took. So congratulations and best of luck in the future with your publication. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Rusty. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
Island Vibes appreciates you taking the time to listen to or watch the Isle of Palms podcast. Check us out in print and as a podcast. Island Vibes is the pride of Isle of Palms today, tomorrow, and always. We love our listeners, and we love IOP.
Thank you for listening or watching the Isle of Palms podcast, produced by Island Vibes, the Isle of Palms upscale monthly publication. Find past and current episodes by visiting isleofpalmspodcast.com.